Hi, my name's Caroline. Welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to talk to you about the idea that we can't ever ask for help and we must always be strong and cope with any situation that life throws at us, and be very self-reliant. And what accompanies that message that we might be running through our minds, whether we're aware of it or not aware of it, what accompanies that can be this sense of I must never be weak. If I'm weak, then I'm somehow less of a person. So I've already done a couple of videos. I think one was I must always be perfect, and the other one I think was I must always hurry up. And there's 5 videos. There's going to be 5 videos in this series. Series is the word I was looking for. Because these are all what is called in a certain theory called transactional analysis. These are all called drivers, and everyone in society has one or at least one, usually a mixture of several of these drivers. But usually there's 1 or 2 predominant drivers, and a driver is a behaviour that we exhibit or that we move into when, in particular, if we're very stressed. And so I'm going to use an example of something that's happened to me over the past few days. So I live down in St Leonard's near Hastings, and on Thursday we were told that there was a problem with the water supply, subsequently there's a big burst water main, and so over this bank holiday weekend, so it's now Sunday and my water has just come back on. But that's meant that for best part of 3 days, me and I think it's 30,000 houses and businesses have been without water. So that's been really, really challenging. And the water stations have been absolutely rammed. The supermarkets have been stripped of all bottled water. I've heard some lovely tales of sort of neighbourliness where people have been sharing their water. I've heard some not so great tales of bottles of water being taken off of particularly disabled, vulnerable, elderly people's doorstep. So there's been a sort of a classic COVID style survival response whereby there's been like this divided, so some have supported others have become very selfish and just thought about themselves. Now one of my drivers has always been the be strong driver, and I've really noticed it kicking in these past few days, whereby I just automatically go to try and solve the problem on my own, don't reach out to friends and family for help, just figure it out at all costs. There's got to be a way. I mustn't ask for help because then I'll look needy, or I don't want to be seen to be a victim. So I'm just gonna figure it out myself, even if that means I have to lug 6 bottles of water halfway across Hastings. I'll figure out a way to do it. So this is something that has been a pattern for me my whole life. I've really made headway in changing that, and you know, if I need help and support, I have really had to push through some very uncomfortable feelings to pick up the phone or ping out a message and just say, oh, help, I'm really struggling here, you know, would you mind? And this time it took me a good sort of day and a half to finally kind of go, oh, actually, I do need some help here. And it was actually fine. There was a time at one point the water company was saying we might not get any water until Tuesday. So that was, you know, I was starting to really get a little bit panicky about that. And because I don't live anywhere near any of the bottling stations, I was I didn't really want to sit in a car for hours and hours and hours. Anyway, long story short, I pushed against my driver and I phoned up a friend and said, can I come drive to yours? She lived quite near a bottling station. Can I drive to yours and we can walk down together and sort of help each other carry some water up the hill? And it was fine. And actually I ended up, I've probably got too much water now because the water has come on, and all's well that it has ended well. But it was really interesting for me to notice that even though I've done a lot of work on myself, I was still automatically, especially when I sort of went into crisis mode, probably a bit of a trauma response from the COVID days of, oh my goodness, you know, and everywhere the roads were gridlocked. There was roads that had been shut down with water tankers. The queues were enormous everywhere, and everyone sort of goes into crisis mode. So I think there was a bit of trauma response back from the COVID times and feeling very unsafe. So yeah, and I realised this morning that I had gone into my Be Strong driver. And actually I'm really glad that I was able to overcome that. So yeah, I wonder how many of you guys out there have got this style of coping, because it manifests in all sorts of different ways. It can manifest in like, even if you're feeling ill, for example, you may not want to book up a doctor's appointment. If you're struggling financially, you may not want to reach out to friends and family to ask for help with money. You know, if you're struggling to carry something heavy, but you know that maybe a next door neighbour has got a big strapping, someone in the family who could do it, but you push against that and end up, maybe injuring yourself because you tried to do it rather than accepting help, then this driver might apply to you. And the key to unpicking this driver, because the downside of this driver is that this message that we have received, which will have been through childhood or our early years, it could be through overt messages from our caregivers, or it could be covert messages of, I've got enough going on, you're gonna have to sort yourself out. Or maybe if you live in if you grew up in a very big family and your parents were really, really super busy with the other kids, or if one of your siblings had complex needs and therefore all of your parents' time and effort and energy was taken up meeting their needs. There can be lots of reasons. Maybe you went to boarding school and for example, there may not have been anyone there that you felt you could turn to for support. And so it's a coping strategy that we develop as a way of becoming self-reliant, and in sort of the more extreme versions, if we've grown up in a childhood home where our parents have been either physically absent or emotionally absent, or just very unresponsive. So, for example, if either one of your parents had an addiction, or worked away a lot, for example, or worked, 2 jobs because money was really short. So there's lots and lots of scenarios, and I'm definitely not here to blame parents. I'm a parent myself, and I know how hard it is to try and make ends meet when you're bringing up children. So this is not about the blame game. This is about just supporting us to notice when we've got some really unhealthy coping strategies going on, and hopefully providing some information so you can start to maybe challenge those strategies. Because what actually happens is we've got this message of I mustn't be weak, I must always be strong, but actually the opposite quite often will then pan out, because it's actually a sign of strength to be able to ask for help. And if we sort of chronically don't ever ask for help, then eventually we are going to become weaker, because in terms of health, if we're not getting any medical support, we're going to become physically weaker. If we are unable to look for emotional support, then we're going to become emotionally vulnerable. If we don't seek support financially, again, that can have really big ramifications on the way we live our lives and how happy we are, and if we're not feeling fulfilled and happy emotionally, financially, physically, mentally, then that's going to limit our lifespan. That's going to limit our ability to get into fulfilling friendships or relationships. It's going to affect our ability to feel happy in our working life, and so it can affect everything. And sort of also looking at the other end of the spectrum, what it can then lead to is other coping strategies that come off the back of being strong, whereby if it gets too hard to just constantly be carrying the burden yourself, you might then find yourself resorting to maybe addictions yourself in order to try and numb out how difficult life can feel when you are the only person taking responsibility for everything, and you don't, because eventually, if we don't develop a support network who we can reach out to, and who we are able to be honest and vulnerable with, we might find that we put our energy into supporting other people who are vulnerable and needy, because as a classic sort of be strong driver person, our style would be, help everyone else and don't worry about me. But what can then happen is that when it gets to the point of which actually, it's the cards are down, the chips are down, and I really do need help, we might look around and the people around us are perhaps not those who are able to support us. If they're the kind of people that if we've always been supporting them, they may not be the kind of people that are then able to give us support too. I mean, that may not be true for everyone, but that is a pattern that can emerge if you're always the one giving to others and never ever asking for help or support for yourself. So the way to overcome this is just pushing through that discomfort. And believe me, it's hard, especially in the early days of allowing yourself to ask for help. But when we start to do that, we're giving our subconscious mind the message that it's okay to be vulnerable, like nothing bad is going to come, assuming that we're choosing healthy, safe people in which to ask for support from. Then actually we're going to be way better off for getting that support. And we may not always get the support. That's another thing to bear in mind. We might be brave enough to ask for support, but then that support isn't forthcoming, and that can be really tough. And that's probably one of the reasons why we avoid asking for help, because of fear of rejection. If someone says, well, no, I can't, or no, I don't want to, and that can feel really painful to sit with, that fear of rejection. But the more and more we allow ourselves to push through that fear barrier, the more we're giving our subconscious messages that I am worthy. I'm worthy of being supported. I'm worthy of being helped. And even if we don't actually get that help, we're still giving ourselves the message that it's okay. I'm okay as a human being, even if I'm asking for help. I'm probably healthier as a human being mentally if I am reaching out for help, because we all need our community. We are social beings. Humans are social beings, and if we isolate ourselves and to the point where we're completely self-contained, then we're really missing out on a lot of wonderful connections that we can make by being prepared to say to someone else, look, I'm really struggling. Is there anything you can do for me, or can we figure something out together? And a lot of clients that come to me are clients who have been struggling for years, who've got this be strong driver, and they've been taking the weight of the world on their shoulders, and then it gets to absolute crunch point where their bodies can't handle the pressure anymore, or mentally or emotionally, financially, they just have reached capacity. And that's when we're in the sort of danger zone of having a nervous breakdown, or just not being able to function. We're in danger of moving into depression or anxiety or other sort of really tough mental health issues. So yes, I really encourage you, if you feel like this is something that affects you, I'd really encourage you to try and push through that discomfort of asking for help or support. I always would encourage you to find a good therapist. I don't have any counselling slots myself, so I'm not here trying to get clients, but if you are looking to do some therapy with a client, I'd always recommend looking on the BACP website for good quality therapists. So I hope that my video has been helpful. If you liked it, I would love it if you could give me a thumbs up. And I hope you have, it's bank holiday weekend here, so I hope if you're in the UK, I hope you have a lovely bank holiday weekend, and I will speak to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.